Welcome to New Testament Greek, an introduction to New Testament Greek. These tapes are provided to help you to hear the various sounds of the letters of the Greek alphabet and also to help you to hear some of the words that are very common words that you'll be needing to learn. We'll begin with the Greek alphabet. I'm going to use a classroom pronunciation of the letters rather than a modern Greek pronunciation. There is a difference, quite a difference in some of the letters. But for the most part, the pronunciations that you will hear at Fuller Seminary or most other Protestant seminaries will be this classroom pronunciation, an Erasmusian pronunciation. Now what follows is the Greek alphabet. I'll say the letters slowly. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Upsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega. Be very careful when you pronounce the letter gamma. Please don't say gamma. Some of you who have been in sororities or fraternities, you may have pronounced some of these letters a little differently. But say gamma. Also for the kappa, it's kappa, not kappa. The iota is iota rather than iota. Lambda rather than lambda. Pi rather than pi. You know, in mathematics, you learned the letter pi r square, but pronounce it P. Phi rather than phi. Chi rather than chi. The chi can also be pronounced further back in the mouth, back in the throat, more like a chi. Let's go through the letters again. This time I will pause after saying the letter, and you repeat the letter after me, please. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Upsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega. Did you notice on the Rho how the R is rolled? Rho. Any word in Greek that begins with this letter Rho will have a breathing mark over the top of it, which signifies an H sound. We get English words like rhythm or rheumatism that begin with RH, and it comes from the Greek. Now let's go back over the alphabet again, and this time I'm going to give you the sound of the letter after the name of the letter. Again, the sounds that I will be using are Erasmusian or classroom Greek sounds. Alpha is pronounced as ah, as in the word father. Ah. Alpha. Ah. Beta is pronounced as the B in the word baby. Ba. Beta. Ba. Gamma is pronounced as the G in the word get. G. Gamma. G. Delta is pronounced as the D in daddy. D. Delta. D. Epsilon is pronounced as the E in the word met. E. Epsilon. E. Zeta is pronounced as the Z in the word zebra. Z. Zeta. Z. Sometimes zeta will be pronounced as a DZ sound, as in the Greek word baptizo. Z. Z. Eta is pronounced as a long A, as in the word eight. Even though this is a long E in Greek, pronounce it like a long English A. Eta. A. But don't forget that it's a long E. It's not an A, it's an E. Eta. A. Theta is pronounced as the word, as the TH in the word theology. Theta. Th. Iota is pronounced as the I in the word machine. E. It's an E sound, like a long E. Iota. E. Kappa is pronounced as the K in the word kitten. K. Kappa. K. Lambda is pronounced as the L in the word lamb. Ul, or little. Lambda. Ul. Mu is pronounced as the M in the word mama. Mu. Nu is pronounced as the N in the word new. Nu. Xi is pronounced as the X in the word sex. X, x, almost like a KS. Xi. X. Omicron is pronounced as the O in the word obey. O, just like a long O. Now, most other professors here at Fuller will pronounce the Omicron as an AW, like awe, as in the word logos. I make no distinction in the pronunciation of this word, of this letter rather, Omicron, and the letter Omega. I pronounce them both as long O's. Omicron. O. P is pronounced as the letter P in the word papa. P. P. Rho is pronounced as the R in the word row, but roll the R. R. As in the word Christos, the word for Christ. Sigma is pronounced as the S in the word sister. S. Sigma. S. Tau is pronounced as the T in the word time. T. Tau. T. Upsilon is pronounced as an U, as in the word Eucharist, It can have other various pronunciations as well. Actually, in English, we would represent a Greek upsilon with either a Y, a U, or a V sound. But for the most part, we will pronounce it U, upsilon, U. Phi is pronounced like an F or like a PH, as in the word phono. F, phi, f. Chi is pronounced as a CH in the word Christ, never as the CH in the word church. It's always a hard sound. And I pronounce it further back in the throat with more of a guttural sound. Chi. The chi is pronounced chi. If you have trouble with that, it's okay to pronounce it with just a hard CH sound. K. The psi is pronounced as PS, as in the end of the word lips. Ps. Psi. Ps. Omega is pronounced as the word O in the word obey. O. O. Omega. And remember, I do not have any distinction in pronunciation between the Omicron and the Omega, as some other grammarians or scholars may have. Okay, let's go over the alphabet again. Alpha, A, and a long alpha and a short alpha are pronounced the same in Greek. A. Beta, B. Gamma, G. Delta, D. Epsilon, E. Zeta, Z. Eta, A. Theta, Th. Iota, E. Kappa, K. Lambda, O. Mu, M. Nu, N. Xi, X. Omicron, O. P. P. Rho, R. Sigma, S. Tau, T. Upsilon, U. Phi, F. Chi, Ch. Psi, Ps. Omega, O. Let's go back and say the alphabet, this time more rapidly. We will only say the letters of the alphabet. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Now let's try a little exercise, and I'm going to ask you various questions about the alphabet. What letter comes after beta? Gamma. What letter comes after theta? Iota. What letter comes after mu? Nu. What letter comes after pi? Rho. What letter comes after nu? Xi. What's the last letter in the alphabet? Omega. What's the letter right before it? Psi. What letter comes after gamma? Delta. What letter comes after epsilon? Zeta. Now we're going to do something a little silly. I'm going to teach you a song that might help you to remember the alphabet, and it goes to the tune of the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Don't laugh too hard, okay? And don't judge me on my singing qualities, but we'll just have a good time with this. It goes something like this. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Let's try that again, and this time we'll do it a little faster. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. And again. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. I know it's a little corny, but sometimes things that are corny help us to remember. So have a good time with it. Now let's try to identify some letters in a particular piece of Scripture. If you will turn in your Greek New Testament to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. Now I know it may take you some time to find this in your Greek New Testament, so you may want to pause your tape at this time to give yourself the opportunity to look this passage up. John 1:1. Let's look at verse 1. The first letter is a capital epsilon. Notice that the breathing mark is in front of this capital letter. Breathing marks occur in Greek over the words that begin with vowels or diphthongs. And if that vowel is a capital vowel, then the breathing mark occurs right to the left of it. What is the letter after the capital epsilon? Nu. This word is pronounced N. N. If the breathing mark in front of the epsilon were facing the other way, we would pronounce this word hen, as though there were an H in front of it. But since it's not, we pronounce it N. The next word begins with what letter? Alpha. Ah. The next letter is Rho. An R sound. What is the next letter? Chi. And the final letter in the word is eta. Notice that underneath the eta there is a little iota. We call that an iota subscript. And since it's written below the letter eta, we do not pronounce the iota, but it is necessary to write it there. It shows us a particular ending of a word that tells us important information. Now let's look at this word and notice that since it begins with a vowel, there is a breathing mark over the alpha. That's called a smooth breathing mark. If you scan the line and find the fourth word that is one letter, an omicron, notice that the breathing mark goes the other way. That breathing mark is called a rough breathing mark, and we pronounce the word as though there were an H sound in front of it. But back to the second word, we have a smooth breathing mark. The accent is the curved, arched line over the eta on the end of the word. The only thing you need to know about accents at this point in Greek is that wherever the syllable is accented, you give the stress, voice intonation, to that particular syllable. We will learn more about accents as the course progresses, and especially where an accent changes the meaning of a word. So we will pronounce this second word, arche. Arche. Now let's pronounce the two words together, in arche. And of course you know that means in the beginning. The word arche gives us such English words as arch, archetype, archives, archaeology, anything that is A-R-C-H. Now let's look at the third word. The first letter in the third word is what letter? Eta. And an eta would be transliterated into English as what English letter? A long E. So you would write an E and put a bar over top of the E to indicate that it's long. Notice that this word begins with a vowel, so we have a breathing mark. And what kind of breathing mark is this over the vowel? Smooth breathing. And there's also an accent. This curved accent is called a circumflex accent. What is the second letter or the last letter of this little word? Nu. So we would pronounce this word ein. Ein. It's a form of the verb of being, and it means it was. In the beginning was. Now look at the fourth word, the single letter omicron, with what kind of breathing mark over top? Rough breathing. So we pronounce this word ho, and it means the. It's a form of the definite article. Look at the last word before the comma. What's the first letter? Lambda. The next letter? Omicron. The next letter? Gamma. The next letter? Omicron. And the last letter? Sigma. You want to notice how a sigma is written differently when it occurs at the end of a word. It looks a lot like our English S. When it occurs any other place but the end of a word, it looks somewhat like an O with a cap drawn to the right top side of it. Look at the word logos, and you notice that over the first omicron in this word is a mark that we call an acute accent. So would we pronounce this word logos or logos? Logos, because the accent occurs over the first syllable. Now let's look past the comma, and we'll notice words that we have already seen. The first word, though, is the word that means and it begins with what initial letter? Kappa. The next letter is alpha. And the next letter? Iota. Now look at the accent over the iota. This is called a grave. Don't say grave, but rather grave accent. And we pronounce this word kai. Kai. The next two words, or the next three words actually, we have already seen in John 1:1. What is this word ho? It is a form of the definite article, meaning the. And what kind of breathing mark is over top of the omicron? A rough breathing mark. So we will pronounce this word ho. Ho. The next word is logos. Logos. And the next word is a form of our verb of being, ein, meaning it was. He, she, or it was. The word was. The next word begins with what letter? A P. And the next letter? Rho. The next letter? Omicron. And the letter at the end? Sigma. What kind of accent is over the omicron? A grave. And you don't want to say grave, do you? It's grav. A grav accent. We will pronounce this word pros. Pros. The next word is another form of the definite article. You'll discover that there are 24 different forms of the definite article in Greek. The first letter in this definite article is what letter? Tau. The next letter is omicron. And the last letter is nu. And again, look at the grav accent over the word, and we pronounce it ton. Ton. The next word before the comma begins with what letter? Theta. And the next letter is epsilon. And the next letter? Omicron. And the last letter in this word? Nu. What kind of accent is over the omicron? An acute accent. We pronounce this word theon. Theon. Notice that the definite article in front of this word ends in an omicron and a nu, and that the last two letters in the word theon are also omicron and nu. There is a reason that they are the same. Let's pronounce those two words together. Ton, theon. Now go back to the beginning of John 1:1 and let's pronounce the words up to this point. In arche, ein, ho, logos. Now let's say the whole clause. In arche, ein, ho, logos. In arche, ein, ho, logos. Now let's look at the second clause. The first word, kai. Ho. Logos. Ein. Pros. Ton. Theon. And now let's say this clause. Kai ho logos ein pros ton theon. This time a little faster. Kai ho logos ein pros ton theon. Now let's go back again, and this time we'll say those two clauses a little faster. In arche ein ho logos.